Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm Trần Phước Lĩnh, Head of Department of Research and Project Development at Senior Research, and I'm happy to be the moderator for this session. This session is the presentation presented by Ms. Nguyễn Hồng Anh. Nguyễn Hồng Anh has been a lecturer of English at Faculty of Foreign Languages, Banking University of Ho Chi Minh City for more than 10 years. She started her teaching career as soon as graduating from University of Education, Ho Chi Minh City. From the practical exposure with English language teaching for students at the tertiary level, she has been inspired by the magical influence of language in one's success. Later on, obtaining her master's degree in applied linguistics from Curtin University, she has truly been aware of her areas of research interest in ELT methodology, second language acquisition, and material development. And today's presentation is about students' autonomy and attitude towards learning pandemic aftermath period, the case study at the University of Banking in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. This research paper aims at examining students' autonomy and attitude towards learning in their offline learning after the pandemic period in order to find ways to improve their academic performance. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Mr. Hồng Anh.
Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Lin, for your introduction. So I would like to start my presentation by shortly introduce about my university. Just because we are the university, we are changing our name from Hub, that means, into Hub means the Ho Chi Minh City University of Banking. And traditionally, people think about our university as the university that is featured in banking and finance. And when I said that I'm working as a lecturer, English lecturer at that university, so people may think that, okay, so I'm just teaching the English for specific purposes classes only. But actually, we have the faculty of foreign languages teaching English, Chinese, and Japanese for students who can work in finance and banking later on. My presentation today focuses on the students' autonomy and attitude towards learning in the aftermath period. Just because we all know that Vietnam and all of the other countries on the world have experienced a really bad period of time in our life. So the COVID-19 pandemic has affected our life, education in all aspects. We cannot say that the pandemic didn't do anything to our life, but sadly it does, and really, really seriously. Students at our university have experienced a lot of difficulties and challenges, both in their life and in education and training. So it's our duty and responsibility to help them to overcome all of those things. That is the reason why I have conducted this research paper. And sadly, I do not publish the paper over here just because for publishing it later in a journal. So my presentation will go through all of these points. First of all, about some points, something about autonomy, learning autonomy, and about COVID-19 and about our university. And then we move on to the research questions. We have some findings and recommendations and some limitations. Now, first of all, we all know that autonomy is an attitude. That is an attitude towards learning rather than methodology. And when we talk about autonomy, especially with learning autonomies, we are thinking about the teachers who are very free of doing anything in the class, right? We think about autonomy as a way, we think about learning autonomy as a way to free ourselves, to liberate ourselves from a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, a lot of work in the class. But is it always true? And is about the ability to pursue learning projects autonomously. So, to sum up, autonomy means capacity to self-learning, right? So now we move on to learner's autonomy. And from my research, I have found that learner autonomy means the ability of self-directed learning. Self-directed learning, independent learning, and autonomous learning. So we can see from the slide that when we talk about autonomy, we're all about self, individual self, from the learner's perspective and from the learner's responsibility towards their learning. But learner's autonomy is not the license to behave without constraint. And learner's autonomy is not primarily the matter of physical setting of learning. And autonomy is not a threat to teacher's job. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me? So first of all, when we talk about learner's autonomy, we all think about that is the way that we give our students the power, the right to do whatever they like or they want to do inside the classroom and outside the classroom. And some students, from that viewpoint, from that time, they start behaving in their own way. Okay, the teacher say, now it's the time for us to do this exercise, and then after 5 minutes, we correct the exercise, and then we will have some quick presentation in the class. What will students do? They just sit silently there because they know that I have the freedom. I have the right to do whatever I want. And sometimes they pretend that they are discussing, but not toward our lesson, not towards the task. So it's not autonomy. It's not autonomy. It's the kind of misbehaving, right? So autonomy, from the perspective of the teachers, we have to be sure that we are not giving the student the power, the rights, the authority to do whatever they want in the classroom, during the classroom, and outside the classroom. Everything must be done within support and within guidelines of morale. Okay? And then, for the second point, we think that when we are giving the learners, the students autonomy to do whatever they want, so we can transform the physical classroom into whatever kind of facilities we want to, but no. Autonomy and learning autonomy must be taking place inside the class and outside the classroom physically. We just change the way the student think toward learning and language and knowledge perception. The process of doing things should be changed, not the physical facilities. Student can be inside the class within the support from the teacher, from the guideline of the teachers and the school, but they can freely, they can independently develop in their own way within the pace. So we have to change our mind, and also we have to change this perspective of the family and the students there. Learning autonomy means we are conducting learning and teaching processes inside the classroom with some restriction, but we are promoting the ability of students to do what they want to and develop their own way of doing things. They can use our guideline, our support to develop their own learning space, their own learning strategy, and their own test-taking strategy. We do not, the one who put those things, we do not impose students. We do not force students to do what we want to. We try to develop the ability from students, all right? ensure that learning autonomy and learner autonomy is not a threat to our job. Some of us, and even me, some years ago, when I think, okay, so if my students can do whatever they want in the class, so what should I do? Will I lose my jobs? Unemployed? Okay, so that is the question. Because some of us may hear something like, some days English teaching jobs will disappear. And we will be out there jobless, unpaid. Alright, but I was sad by my professor that we still have our space. We will have our role in students' life because we can use English. We can develop a community of speaking English. But we need some kind of guidance. We need some light to follow. So the teacher's job is the light for children, for students to follow and to develop their own learning independence. So for the slides, I want to say for sure that for all of us, we will not lose our job. We will still have our role in students' development. Alright? And here, so from all those points, we can say learning autonomy is the goal of education. That's the aim of our education and training process. It's not a procedure. It's not a method. So when we talk about procedure or when we talk about the method, we try to impose or we try to put some kind of steps. So step number 1, students have to do this. Step number 2, students have to do that. And the teachers from the other side of the lesson plan, we have to do this to push our students to achieve this kind of goal. So we are teachers, we all know that if we want to have the class and in the class, we need to have some kind of lesson plan, right? So we have to follow even 3 or 5 stages in our lesson plan. So if we think that learning autonomy or student autonomy is a kind of procedure or the kind of method, we have to develop the lesson plan. And that kind of lesson plan needs to be strictly followed. But if we conceive a learning autonomy as the aim, that is the goal of our learning, of our education, of our job. So we day by day put those things, those perceptions into our students' mind and into our way of doing things. We implicitly put those things into our lesson plan. We shouldn't say directly and explicitly to the student, okay, for step number 1, in order to develop your learning autonomy, you have to do this. And I will support you by doing this. No. We do it implicitly, okay? Indirectly and secretly. And by the process of training. We have to train ourselves. First of all, we have to change and train our mindset. If we cannot change and train our mindset, we cannot do anything. The way we think about the work will design what we do in our real life. So if we can change that, okay, we are doing this for the purpose of developing a generation of students who can do whatever they want in the classroom, outside the classroom, and afterward. So we can change ourselves. And then from our changing mind and changing mindset, we can implicitly put those into our classroom. And we try to integrate learning autonomy into language teaching. Just because we are English teachers. So I will put those things into language teaching. You remember that Professor Dr. Alice said this early this morning about input and product production and base class, remember? So we try to provide our students with adequate and appropriate input, language input for those who want to perform a particular task in the classroom or outside the classroom. So if they have enough input, so it can guarantee the appropriate output or production of producing a particular task in real life. Okay? And practice makes perfect. So, and then we try to put the goal identification for learner training day by day. Now, so the quality of the autonomous learners, they should be active and independent. So they need to know how to identify what is being taught and state and follow up their own purposes in addition to the teachers. So the teachers may say something and they know how to do it, how to follow those. They know how to select and implement appropriate learning strategies, which is appropriate to their own characteristics and their own purpose in life. They know how to monitor and evaluate their role of use of learning strategies, and they know how to monitor their learning. So those are the qualities of autonomous learners. So what should the teachers do? The teacher should approve, encourage learners to be independent. You shouldn't prevent them. You shouldn't hinder them by saying that you cannot do this and you cannot do that. You need my support. You need to do this. So in order to achieve a particular goal, no, encourage them. We should enable learners to believe in themselves and in their personal ability to independently study. We persuade students that they can do whatever they want, but just as one condition that they should want to do it. The first step to success is that you want to succeed. You want to succeed first, and then you will do whatever you want to succeed. And we should offer the learners opportunity to exercise their self-directed learning. Offer them the chance to do whatever they want. And we should help students to develop their learning techniques to exercise their self-directed learning. So it's all about the autonomy. Now, look at this. This is Ho Chi Minh City last year. Sadly, peaceful but sadly. And this is what we should move to. That is we should acknowledge that COVID pandemic has seriously affected the world, affect our learning. So at our university, we have to start learning online from February 2020. So 2 years ago, more than 2 years. So our students have experienced a lot of influences and from those kind of online learning. And then the COVID-19 pandemic, I think they have both positively and negatively transformed and restructured our single sector routine and as well as our teachings and learnings. Because we don't have enough time, so I wrote through this one. So I have conducted a research on our students. So I make a survey and I ask students from the second to the fourth years to answer them. And then I interviewed some of my teachers about their perspective toward the online learning and online learning process. The research was conducted after 2 years of distance learning so that they know very clearly about what they have experienced so far. And all of this is about the survey. So the surveys will be put into 3 sections like this. The first section is to investigate how students were prepared for the pandemic. And absolutely, we were not prepared for that. Okay? And then for the second section, the students react to the pandemic. And then they prepare themselves for the post-pandemic period. Then we move on to the in-depth interview. And we have 3 questions about the levels of support from the school, and then 3 questions about the level of support from family. They said the response. We supported our students thoroughly so that they could have a kind of properly well conducted online learning sessions. But surely they will have some kind of disadvantages toward online learning. The limitation, the skills. So with only about 100 students, we cannot make this research as a generalized research. So we need to enlarge the surveys so that we have more respondents. We just conducted shortly after the pandemic. Okay. So the lingering kind of accession may affect the responses. So this is my suggestion. So we need for the student, we need to have a kind of better infrastructure and database to prepare for anything can happen in the future. The lecturers, we should have some kind of technological expertise and mental health in terms of mental and physical health. For students, we need to train them some kind of soft skills and health, a way to protect our health, both mentally and physically. All right. And that brings me to the end of my presentation today. Thank you for your attention, and I'm waiting for your questions and feedback.
Yes, we have about, thank you very much. We have about 7 minutes for some questions. So, may I invite some question from you? Yeah, you have a question? Sorry. Yes, please.
Yes, thank you very much for your interesting presentation. And about learning autonomy, I think it's very important after the pandemic. But I would like to know, could you share something about the faster impact learning autonomy and how can we do to improve learning autonomy? Thank you.
So you have been asked about the factors that influence the learner's autonomy. So from my research, we can consider that with learner autonomies, we can consider both from their family background, the student's personal characteristic, and from the environment, their learning environment and their social environment. So from the perspective of the researchers, we can, if we limit the kind of factors into the environment, and I focus on the schools or the academic environment. So I should take the learner's autonomy from the perspective of the school administration and from the teachers who directly teach and lecture those students. Okay. So if we can create kind of positive environment to support learners so they can freely and they can confidently develop their learning autonomy and learning independence. From my experience, I often come to the class with a very clear objectives of what we will do in the class for whatever lessons or whatever subjects I will teach. And then I will try to put or remove all the burden, all the pressure that I have personally, academically, socially outside the classroom. We would come to the class with the perspective of being a friend rather than a teacher. So from that kind of perspective, we can freely and we can confidently create kind of positive learning atmosphere. And from that point, students know that they are enabled to do whatever they want in the class. They can freely raise the questions, they can freely make mistakes. And they know that nobody criticizes for their mistakes. Okay, so that is from the academic factors, and then we can classify the factors into the students' characteristic. We know that students vary in terms of personal characteristic. Somebody is extrovert, somebody is introvert. So if we can easily recognize which groups of students have a particular type of characteristic inside our class, we can easily mix them. And we know how to encourage each type of students. So I think from the viewpoint of the teacher, we should have some kind of training into psychological studies so we can easily recognize those kinds of students in our class. And from family, at the territory level training, it's really hard for us to closely and we cannot know very clearly about students' background, but from their hometown, their hometown, we can easily guess or predict about the way they behave in our class and the way they treat learning and the way they want to do or let me think about that. Okay, we can know very clearly about why students go to our universities and how they would challenge themselves in our university. Students from big cities behave differently from students from rural areas, and we have to acknowledge, and we have to know those kind of differences in order to sparkle, to give them a light so that they can easily follow. So to sum up, about factors, we can put it into academic, family, and students of their role. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, it is a big question, and I think that you are satisfied with the answer. Just 2 more minutes, so a very short questions. Yes, please.
You mentioned that learners' autonomy should be taught kind of implicitly rather than explicitly. I think I have 2 questions, 2 short questions. Number one is can you share an example of how you incorporate it into a lesson so it can be taught implicitly? And then number 2 is we as Vietnamese don't really have the culture of being autonomous. We need to in my experience, it's very difficult to just implicitly teach them that, and sometimes I need to say that explicitly to balance out with the cultural force. So would you, according to what you have researched, would that be a good idea as well to share with them why, for example, should they develop learners' autonomy? Thank you for your question. So because I'm teaching linguistic subjects, so if students do not do the exercise or do not do anything on their own, it's really hard for us to push and to impose those knowledge into their mind and into their practice. So right from the beginning of their university time with us, because we follow our students from first year to the 4th year. So right from the beginning of the schools, I taught my students, okay, we are doing some kind of courses in the class, okay? And we will have these subjects with the purpose of doing this in the future. These subjects will help you in this way, and these subjects will help you in that way. And I am in charge of all of the challenging and boring and whatever kind of subjects like phonetics and phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, translation, interpretation, whatever. And those subjects are really hard to study, both from the teachers and the students. So right from the beginning, I explain clearly and carefully to my students that, okay, if you want to do this, let's start by doing this. And right from the first year, I asked my student to make a list of their to-do list in 4 years. Okay? So I will divide those kind of things into short-term and long-term activities. And I ask them to make a sample schedule, weekly schedule. And I want them very like they should be honest to themselves. What kind of things they are good at, and what kind of thing they are bad at, and what do they expect from us as their lecturers and as their friends as well. We appear to our students at our university, especially at our faculty, that we are not teachers after the class. We are their senior friends. Senior because we are older, right? Some of our students nowadays can call me Go or Miss, and then they self-introduce themselves as Gong, like the children in the class, because I'm about 20 or more than 20 years older than them. So, okay, so we appear to be friends, senior friends, and we accompany our students, follow them strictly from daily life to academic life, and we secretly direct them to the right track. And that is the way I do. And before the academic courses start, and in my class, what I do, I actually conduct my teaching in the way that learning by doing. I believe that we learn best when we are doing something. So I do not lecture a lot in my class, but I just say 4 or 5 minutes, and then I stop. And then I let my students to do the exercises and ask them to go to the board. Okay, go to the board and write down their answer, whatever kind of answer, from the most stupid one to the smartest one, whatever they want. Just if they just go to the class, they have some bonus mark, and they go to the board, some bonus mark, and I always guarantee that they will have bonus mark for whatever they do in my class, even they did it wrong or right. So we encourage them without saying that we are trying to do this to teach them this. No, we encourage them to actually put their hands and their pens onto the paper to realize that they are good at this and they are not very good at this. And we will try to figure out a way to support them, to help them overcome those. So with my students, when they have to draw some tree diagrams for English sentence structures, it's really hard. And they text me even 11 p.m. before the exam, or even at night, or when they have something with their love affair, they call me and call me. So we know that, that kind of friends together with the teachers roles in the class. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you. A short question with a very insightful answer. Cindy, you are an expert in learning autonomy. So thank you very much for your presentation and responding to the questions. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to present to you the token of appreciation and a certificate. So this is the time to enjoy lunch. So the lunch voucher is available.